From a professional soccer career to becoming a driving force in the mortgage industry, Brian Covey has shown what it takes to find your competitive edge. Get off the sidelines and get in the game. Find your competitive edge with Brian Covey.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Finding Your Competitive Edge. So for all my entrepreneurs out there, you're going to want to make sure to grab a pen and paper and tune into this one, because not only do we have an EOS specialist, we got somebody that is passionate about the entrepreneur, even from a smaller company, mid-size and larger companies. You know, in your leadership journey, you can't do it alone. The solopreneur, one person, very hard to scale, very hard to have a quality of life. And so for all of you that tune in and you're wondering, how do you build the systems? How do you build out your company so that your passion project actually builds revenue? You actually build a company that can leave a legacy and you make that impact that you want. Our guest today, Kevin Suboski, is an EOS specialist. And so I'm excited to dive into this because in the mortgage space, in the real estate space, financial planning, a lot of the worlds I play in, we struggle at this. This is not something we're gifted at. And so to bring him in, we're going to talk about that, break that down for you in your business. And my promise to you is when you leave, you're going to have things you can go implement right away. So Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I got to start with this because I'm reading your LinkedIn profile and I know we're connected over there and we go through this. I love how you start this. You said, you know, the neighborhood kid selling stuff on the table in his yard? That was me. I sold candy bars to kids because the margins and turnover were much better than selling lemonade to their parents. So I got to start there because I laugh. We have lemonade stands that pop up here and my kids go and sell all kind of stuff and they're raising money for, you know, whatever the next booster sports thing is that they have. So tell me about that and what that meaning kind of started you on your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it is tough to figure out what starts somebody on that. I think that there's sort of a biological predisposition. There's a great book called Driven that talks about the genetic basis for, I think, our particular posture, biological posture. But, you know, I've always I wanted to make money, and I was always, I think, a little bit innovative, right? So it's like, what do? You do a lemonade stand, and so I would try different things, and just the neighborhood kids, they'd keep coming back, right? If I had candy bars, the neighborhood kids, so I became somewhat of a staple for them, and I used to make things and sell it in middle school. And I think so many of us, I talk to obviously a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's a common story, right? They say, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. It's kind of a predisposition to how you look at things. And so, and that was definitely me. I made all sorts of things. In sixth grade, I was selling, I manufactured cinnamon sticks, you know, those toothpicks. Oh, yeah. I used to manufacture them, and I would make cinnamon popsicle sticks. And I just made a whole bunch of stuff, and then I would sell them in sixth grade. I mean, it's crazy.
I love it. I love you mentioned innovation. And so I'd love for you to explain, because you work with a lot of entrepreneurs and you're helping them obviously with their EOS system and things there. But in your experience, like 20 plus years, what have you seen that makes a great entrepreneur?
Well, I think that it would be pretty difficult to be an entrepreneur without some sort of deep compassion and empathy, because at the end of the day, what we're doing is we see some pain in the marketplace, some people that they have some concern, and that the other people that are trying to help them aren't doing it well enough. And so if you don't care about people, and if you don't want to sort of help people, I think it's pretty difficult to be an entrepreneur. And I think that there's another one, which is sort of a willingness to be different. There's so much of our culture that, and just sort of as a human being, we all want to get along. We want to be in the tribe. We don't want to get kicked out. But an entrepreneur has a willingness and an ability to see things a little differently, and, you know, be called weird and be okay with that. You know, I think that those are some of the basis of what really makes someone an entrepreneur, because it's a different kind of, you know, there are a lot of people. I think there's two things that you need to do to succeed in business. You have to be a business person. There's you've got to transact. And so you have to be effective and efficient to transact, because if you're an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur is the one that makes a new offer and brings that to the marketplace and helps people. It's like executes that. But if you don't manage those transactions, and we've all seen a lot of examples of this, great entrepreneurs that are broke. So you need them both, right?
Yeah. Well, I love that you talk about that too. And you got to have that passion and conviction. And I was listening to Ed Milet and Andy Frisella talking about some of their journey and all that. And there is a deep conviction about whatever it is, the product or service, that problem that you see. And it's usually birthed out of an experience that they've been through. Yes. I think a lot of entrepreneurs enter, in the ones that I see fail, are just entering some random market that they might have some excitement about, but there's no deep conviction. There's no like, I am solving a problem because I had the problem or someone I love had the problem. And so I love that you start with that, because don't you think a lot of the entrepreneurs, I mean, it looks so sexy on Instagram and it just looks cool. And they get into it and it's like, holy crap, this is not what I signed up for. No. And when does the money start coming in? Like, it's being unique, being different. Yeah. So I'm glad you started with that. When you see the ones that are very successful, you know what I'm curious about in today's market, like breaking out the fluff, like the ones that have started businesses in the last 5 years, let's say even, was it still that core belief of something they saw that was a problem and something they really felt like, okay, I've got to bring this to the market? Or was it something completely innovative of even like the tech side? You know, I see a lot of that coming through. What do you usually see?
Well, you know, one of the things that I think a lot of people don't appreciate, because when you're looking at like who's successful and who's crushing it, I mean, the reality is that sometimes it's just straight up luck. And so my first business, I had an IT business and I crushed it. But the reality is I had a skill set. I had a capacity to see something in the marketplace that was very valuable in the moment. And so I had a skill, and there was an opening in the marketplace, and that happened. It was the middle of the tech bubble. And then when the tech bubble burst, you know, that my time was gone in a way, that opening where I could just be me and just, you know, money would come my way. And then I had to get better at marketing and doing a lot of things. So so in terms of like a moment in time, sometimes it's this, that you've got some skill for which the market has a need. And so I think that, you know, those like overnight, you know, success, they've been working at it for 20 years and they're an overnight success. That's not made up, you know, and I liked how you emphasized that you've got to really be passionate about what you do. Otherwise, you're not really going to tolerate the discomfort and stick it out. And you know, I tell people, so people ask me, they say, should I start a business? And I say, no. You know, no, you shouldn't. You know, the people that succeed, they have to. There's just, and a lot of times it's just this deep, that you see something and you can't stand it. You know, I saw an opening in the marketplace and I can't, and the way that I want to solve it, I can't work for anybody else and do it that way. And I'm stubborn enough to know that my way is the better way. And so, you know, to me, the thing that I look for what is going, you know, so I was saying, if somebody asked me, should I start a business? No, unless you're just so passionate about it that me telling you no has you go like, so shut up, leave me alone. I'm going to start a business. That's right. Because you're passionate about it. Because, and so I had an IT business. I was really successful financially, you know, all the ways, but eventually I didn't love it. My customers were big companies. I prefer the small companies. I fell out of love with the technology piece, IT. And so I was determined after that to love my work. Yeah. And so what I see are the people that, and so when people are like that, I say, well, how do I figure that out? I say, it starts with who do you serve? And so we don't love everybody.
True.
And so be selective, figure out, you know, because I work with small business owners right now. I work with entrepreneurs. And if I help them, that just feels so good to me. I mean, it's the greatest joy. I mean, so it's a great drama, and I care about those people. A lot of people, us entrepreneurs, we're annoying in a lot of ways, right? We're pushy, we're willful, we've got an opinion, we have a difference of opinion, and so I love those people, but a lot of people don't. So who do you love? Who do you want to serve? And then what's the concern that matters to you? And then what's that practice that you're in flow? You just are really good at it. And so those people that have found that have been uncompromising in their pursuit of their passion, I think there's never been a better time in the history of, Earth, obviously, for you to be able to get success more quickly than you could before.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really passion and love, it's just like make a difference.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. Yeah, we talk about that a lot with our group, like over at Brand Builders and some of the leadership groups that I work with is, we even say it as far as like, what gets you ticked off? Like what upsets you when you see this problem that happens? Like, I've got to solve it. I've got to fix it. And when you find that, it's like, whoa, okay, now to your point, energy, resources, like it just doesn't feel like a chore. Right. You might not have the payoff for a lot longer than you expect, but you are committed to it. You are passionate about it. And what I love too is you said the skills. This is often overlooked. And I'm glad you brought this up because, like I started, it was more of a call center environment. So we learned how to handle objections. We learned how to listen. We learned how to make calls when you got hung up on and, degraded and all the things there. And you got better. You had reps, you had practice, you had all this stuff. And then now I look, some 20 years later, I go, and all the things that we've taught and listened is sales, unfortunately, still has a stigma. And there's people, let's say in IT, it has a stigma. But if you can learn that and be in that top 1% of your industry, you are going to have business and you're going to be able to solve problems better than anyone else. And so I'm glad you brought it up. And then the last part there is that targeted avatar. Like, who is your audience? Because your point, I think about people and go, okay, have I been on that same journey? Have I been where they are? Because if I have been, I could help them. I can go, man, I remember when I got out of really producing day in, day out, and I became more of a manager / production. Then I remember when I got out of total production. Well, I can relate to someone going through it and haven't put the reps in. This is where I encourage everybody is don't be so fast just to jump ahead and cash out. Is the reps along the way, they are priceless. And unfortunately, they come in the form of failure many times of missing it, doing it wrong. So I don't know what your experience has been there with the failure. Failure leads to success, we say with our kids. It's part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I see this question a lot from people, how do I start a business? How can I start making money? And it's just really putting the cart before the horse. It's really, and the answer is become really, really good at something, solve some problem. So I loved math and science. So I got a degree and so I got an engineering degree, but then I didn't love engineering, but I really I coded all my homework. I had like an HP 41 CV, which was one of the earliest programmable calculators. And I wrote programs. And so I did that for fun, And so, and then I found out, oh God, I could automate engineering tasks. Cause that's what I found that fun. I didn't like the tedium of the engineering, so I automated it. And then I could get a job doing that. And so I'd help other IT, other people. I'd learn the stuff, and then I would be the expert. And what I found along the way is like what made me an expert is I read the books. And why did I read the books? Because I was genuinely interested.
Yes.
And so I got better and better at that. And then it's like I knew I wanted to have a business someday. And so when I started my business, I wanted to be the best CEO that I could be.
Yeah.
And so I joined a CEO peer group. I spent 2 years with Vistage, which was tech at the time. And I was always asking questions and I was always getting help. And somebody said, well, if you're always asking why. So here's this program in California. You can spend 5 years studying entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership, the fundamentals of human behavior. And so I spent 5 years with this man. And then I hired one of the founders as my coach for 3 years. And then I, coach, study. And then, I had some success with that. And then it's like, I think I have something to bring, because it worked for me. I did it until it worked. And so, yeah, I totally, yeah. I mean, that's the way to get there. Be really good at something. It's not that you can't do it otherwise, right? And I think this is one of those key things between like, are you an entrepreneur or are you a business person? Because it's
What's the difference?
So I think we all know these kind of people. And I think there's a big difference between, it's the similar phenomenon between a leader and a manager. So someone who's a really good manager, right? So it's about organizing things, making sure things are in the place that they need to. Management comes with a sense of control. Business is about control. Some people that do the kind of work that I do help entrepreneurs. What they tell you all the time is like how to make a lot of money. I'm going to make you make a lot of money. And some people are genuinely like that. I think that so. The business person is about managing transactions or looking about winning. Entrepreneurs is more of an art. It's about bringing value to people. And so, I still want to make a lot of money, but the way that I want to do that is I want to bring as much value as I can. And so that's I geek out over how can I be more valuable to my clients. Because yes, I want to be more valuable, and guess what? I get to raise my prices. I get to charge more, and so I think it does start with that. Recognize what are you a business person? Because I meet some people that are just really good business person and really driven just to win, really genuinely driven to make money, and so with those people, I think they can just sort of manage, right? So find an entrepreneur, find someone who's, just geeks out over being of service.
Yes. Well,
So franchises are for people who are really good business people and not thrown to be entrepreneurs.
Well, I'm glad that was literally where I was going to go with this, Kevin, because I think about that, like our mortgage space, we really operate that way. Where I said we have a bunch of entrepreneurs out that are business managers and owners, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where they're not creating a company from scratch. They're not coming up with all the things that the entrepreneur would, and even the vision and all those things. But they're great business operators, and they can make a lot of money with these stores. And we know with other franchises that they're able to build it. So I'm glad you talked about that. And that kind of leads us into like your specialty, which I'm ready to kind of nerd out and talk about, because I think this is going to help a lot of people. Is one, what the heck is an EOS and an EOS specialist and strategist and all these things that you have really studied, and now we've kind of laid the groundwork for everybody that's listening. Is okay, you have the credibility and the expertise and all the things there. Let's dive into the EOS world. One, what is it? And for people out there, why should they even care about it in their business?
Yeah, so EOS is a set of tools to help people run their business better, get more of what they want out of their business. And the way I got here, so I was telling you about this program that I studied in California that was really essential to me and my success. And they taught the fundamentals of human behavior to help us be better leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. So I studied biology, especially neurology, philosophy, linguistics. It completely shaped who I was as a CEO, and it brought the success that I had there. I found my big corporate clients weren't that interested in it. And so I really wanted to get it down to the smaller companies. And so I brought that to them. And they said, this is awesome, Kevin. So I geek out over this stuff. Not everybody does. And so they said, that's awesome, Kevin. Thanks for sharing. But tell me what to do.
Yeah.
What do I do tomorrow? My hair's on fire. I'm running out of time. Tell me what to do. And so eventually I said, okay, I'm going to tell these guys what to do. So I looked for systems that basically said, walk these cow paths. If you do these things, then you will be a good leader. You don't have to know how to be a good leader. If you just do these things, you will be a good leader. So I tried a couple systems, and most management systems are designed for how we wish people were rather than how they really are. And these ones I tried were like that. It was like I went into it with this education I had, and it's like, this can't work. And it's like, yeah, no, it doesn't. And when I read the book Traction, where it documented the system of the entrepreneurial operating system, it's like, oh, he gets it. This can work with how human beings are. And so it's a very simple set of tools that helps you get the most out of the resources in your organization, especially human. So it's about channeling the human energy in the organization. And it uses all the tools that I know are essential, right? So story, narrative. We all know we need a vision to succeed, but we're not very good at it. And so what does vision even mean? And so EOS says, well, vision means the answer to these 8 questions. What are your core values? What's your core focus? And goes down and says, answer these 8 questions in a way that is authentic. It's really you and you love it. Then you've got a vision, and it's a simple vision, and you can get everybody in your company to understand it. And so if everybody's occupying the same reality, then we can all row in the same direction, and we can start to accumulate more people that are like us, that we can work to collaborate well together. And then, we can have a great vision, but if we don't execute, then it doesn't really matter. It's just, you're having a hallucination, and you should see somebody about that. But so you got to have discipline and accountability. So you have to have standard practices. You have to have some way to make plans for where you're going, and be able to stay on track, check your progress, and hold everybody accountable. And then, we really drive a great culture, and a great culture is very private in a way. And in other words, what I mean by that is what may be a great culture for my company may not appeal to you. Yeah. And what your culture is may not. And so, excuse me, what is that culture for your business that fits you? And so it makes it so that people want to come to work, that they like working with one another. And if you create that situation, you're just going to set better goals, more ambitious goals that you achieve earlier. And so I am an EOS implementer. And so, I was trained by Gino Wickman, who developed the program. And I've been doing that for 11 years. So I work with the leadership team. The sweet spot for EOS is companies that are 10 to 250 in size. They're ambitious. They want to grow. They've got something that really works in the marketplace, but they tend to not, most of their problems are self-imposed. They can't, they don't get out of their way well. And so EOS just makes that company a well-oiled machine. You know how it is when you go into a company. I tell people it's like 1 out of 20 when I get to know a company, where I look at what they're doing and I go nice job. You know what I mean? It's like, you just go sweet, this is really nice. That's what EOS gives you. And so why would somebody, so most people that start a business do it because they're really good at something, as we talked about before. And they may have some theories about how best to organize people. But that may not be their area of specialty, right? So I've spent 30 years studying this stuff. And EOS is an example of something I look at and say, yeah, that's good. And so you can benefit from the experience of others and just say, here's the system. It's widely used around the world. When I first started, nobody knew what it was. Now everybody seems to know entrepreneurial operating system. So I'm not sure whether I answered all your questions, Brian.
You did. I love it. And I'd love to follow up on that because, I think for a lot of people, they're like, one, what is EOS? Now they have some context to it. And I think back to, James Clear, and he talks about, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And for so many entrepreneurs I know, that is where they struggle. That is even in leadership. As I think about my journey, where I struggled for a lot of years was systems, and I hired a coach to help me build systems. And because I'm a good implementer, and I understand that, I'm like, where am I good? Where am I not good? And so if somebody's listening to this, they're like, okay, like I can hire Kevin to do this, or I can go try to do it on my own. I would love your thoughts, because I have my own, but why would someone that's listening to this go, maybe I should hire this out? Because I'm in that small company of 50, 100, somewhere in that sweet spot for you. And they're just trying to figure it out on their own. And they're struggling.
Yeah.
Honestly, today, they're struggling. What do they get by hiring someone that's a specialist in this to teach them all of this? And just kind of walk me through that. I'm just curious as how that all plays out.
Yeah, I think you get what you get generally when you hire somebody in some domain, so depending upon the situation that a company is, I don't think it's right for everybody to hire an implementer. I think what it does is it gets you better results more quickly. But there's a cost. Sure. Right. And so I've got somebody that I was just talking to, and they decided not to move forward. And my response is like, I think that's smart decision. I actually had a conversation with this company, and I said, don't hire me because it's not right for you. But if you have a level of ambition where you want to solve these problems well and quickly, then hiring an implementer is the best way to get there. I have to say, honestly, if I'd have met an EOS, if I'd have known about this when I had my IT company, I don't know that I would have hired anybody. Maybe it would have been smart for me, but because I had this, like, I wanted to invent it. That was my journey, right? I wanted to figure this stuff out. But there are a lot of people who, like, I don't want to have to go through the 5 iterations of each one of these pieces to get it just right. I'd rather hire someone who lives, eats, and breathes this to be able to help us do it the pure way, the right way, the best way the first time. And so it's a level of dedication, right? I mean, it's a way of life. It's like, okay, we're going to run our business this way. So if you're dedicated to, the outcome, one of the things that I find that is difficult is that we really push accountability. Yeah. And to some degree, nobody wants to be held accountable, but everybody wants everybody else to be held accountable. So the contract is like, if I'm going to make you be held accountable, then I agree to it. But if the leader of the business doesn't want to hold people accountable, then a system like EOS isn't going to be good for them. But if they want the maximum kind of impact over the shortest period of time and get the results, and part of the results is to get a company that you want to go to. Gino has a new book out called The EOS Life, and we've been talking about this for a while. If you want to live the EOS life, and that is like making a difference in the world for people that you love, doing things that you really appreciate, making good money while having time for other passions. If that's what you want out of your business, then EOS is going to give that to you more quickly. I tend to talk more to people about their lives than their business. Sure. Because to me, business is a mechanism to help you get the life that you want. Right. And I see so many people go down this path of, starting a business, and it destroys their life because of the way they go about it. And so to me, it's like, it's a mechanism to help you get what you want. And so if you want that quicker, as you said, having a system, part of what I tell people is like, pick EOS. I don't know, is it the best one? I think so, but you don't have to. But what's most important is pick a system. Be consistent. Be consistent in what you do, because that will allow you to improve and get better and better and better. So,
That's fantastic, because I listen to more and more of the truly successful entrepreneurs that have built businesses and company, and I continue to come back to their systems.
Yeah.
And so I'd love for you to dive beneath that, because a lot of times people talk about systems and they talk about these things that are in place. If you were to pick a few of the systems today that you got an entrepreneur listening out there and they're like, what even are the systems? Are they sales systems? Are they follow-up systems? Are they systems on running the financials? Like, where do you see someone should focus today on their systems?
You mean in general, or as part of
general,
EOS?
I know it's kind of a general question of, like, depending on where they are in their revenue and their business and the number of people, but that probably that early on entrepreneur that probably has less than 100 employees, and they're looking, going, they don't have any systems. They just have a great idea, maybe a great product or service, and they're just out hustling, and they have no systems, and they wonder why turnover, frustration, margins aren't right? Like, all these things aren't there.
Yeah.
Where would you start and advise them? Where should they be looking to develop systems in their business?
So this program that I studied with in California, it started with this insight that said that our normal common sense about business is that we take mechanical inputs, things, modify those things, and create outputs and sell those. And that's what business is. And they said, well, if you think about business as being a network of commitments among human beings, you will succeed much better in a knowledge economy. So in an industrial age economy, it is a lot about things. But if you're an IT company, a marketing company, a financial services company, it's really about human beings. And I think this is where we fail. 85% of the people, if you ask them that implemented EOS, what did it help them with? They would say it really helped them solve most of their people problems, which is a profound statement if you think about it. If you've been spending any time with companies, I ran peer groups before I did this, and 70% of the issues that people bring are about other people in your business. Yeah. And so I think we're in the middle of a big sea change in what leadership is, because our models of leadership and entrepreneurship comes from the military. When we started organizing people, that's the only model we had in how to organize, and it's a coercive model. It's about force. And the power of that is diminishing over time. And this is, I think, what's behind the Great Resignation. It's that I'm going to force you to do something. And the truth is that fear works, shame works to a certain degree, but love works so much better. And so, to me, whatever system it is, it's like, how do you mobilize people to follow you based upon their selfish desires?
Yes.
And so it starts with a vision, a story of what you're going to produce. We're linguistic, we language. And so we want to go, we all have this interest in having a meaningful existence. And so if you create an image of the future that's brilliant and beautiful and artful and makes a difference in people's lives, then people will more likely want to follow you. And so to me, I was fortunate. This is something that I did naturally. I've always been very future focused. So I come up with these stories and I want to do these big things. Yeah. And it was like the 1994 height of the tech bubble. And so it was hard to get IT people. I didn't have a hard time with it because I had these great stories and they wanted in on it. One of my favorite clients, Crosswinds Aviation, is a flight school. And I don't know if you know anything about aviation right now, but it's a crazy situation. It's a huge pilot shortage. Yeah. And so to run a flight school, you need people who are qualified to be what they called CFI, certified flight instructor. There are flight schools that are closing across the country because they can't get CFIs in. Wow. Crosswinds Aviation, the founders, and I have friends and I've worked with them. They're one of my clients, and they have been brilliant at constructing compelling narratives about what they're doing in the world. They get 10 emails a week from CFIs asking if they can come work for them. So there is this reality that we don't think of like the business in terms of what is going to compel the best people. And if you don't have stories about the future, if you're not figuring out how to mobilize with people's heart and their soul, then you'll never get the best people. You'll always get the people that don't care, that are looking for a job, that never get engaged. But if you figure out how to compel, how to inspire people to join you on this big journey, then you will get the best people in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So the system has to be starting around what's your vision. And I told you that so EOS works with companies that are 10 to 250. I also have a program for solopreneurs that are ambitious, that want to get to the point where they're one of those companies.
Sure.
And what I did is I cherry picked some of the EOS tools and I helped them develop it. And where they're missing the most is in what we call the VTO, Vision Traction Organizer. It's about constituting your business, specifying the vision. And what I work with them is to make sure that vision is coherent with their heart and soul and make it so that it's compelling in the marketplace. So long answer to a short question, but it's the structures around how do you constitute a vision for your business that's compelling to the best people in the marketplace.
I love it. You dropped a lot of wisdom in there, a lot of golden nuggets. I do want to talk about that because you shared something. Once you go back to the intentional commitments between human beings piece, how leadership has changed. I resonate with that. I came up in corporate America for 13 years, and it was very much, the fear-based, the shame-based, like the stack rankings, and everything was to make you feel bad if you weren't performing. But the next month you could be on the top. Like it was this vicious cycle of you're on the top, but then when you're on the bottom and you're like, I don't even know where I stand some months. And you would just see such churn and burn of people that I see the same as people have moved away, that kind of great resignation, the quiet quitting, all of that. I'd love for you to expand on that for the leaders out there, including myself. How do they take that? And what are the things that they should be doing to make sure that they're changing that guard? Because there's many of us that were brought up in that. And it's almost like, we don't want that. But what do you want? What is it? What could it look like?
I tell you, that's been my career, Brian. I mean, it's just been because, I was just this way where, when I started my business, they said, this is what you got to do to sell. And I'm like, so I got to lie to sell? And so you get all this advice about how to succeed. And I said, if that's what I got to do to succeed, then I'm going to fail. But I think you're wrong. I'm going to find out what's the way. And so this was one of the challenges that I had with working for big corporations is a coercive leadership model is baked in to all the structures. You said, so what's the system? Well, their system is a system of coercive control. And so what I did is I was studying all this stuff and I was implementing it in my company. This more of I call it a commitment-based model where people do what they've agreed to do, not what you've told them to do. And so there's a certain sort of negotiation that goes on, and there's a whole discipline of this that I learned called Conversations for Action. That's one of those geeky things that I tell people. But at the heart of it is, how do we pay attention to how, for instance, you and I would have a conversation where I have something I need to get done. I make a request, and we have the kind of conversation that's needed for you to get to the point where you can authentically and honorably say, yes, I promise to do that, in a way that it's true. You're not just saying that because you're supposed to, right? Boss tells you do this. You say, okay. Even in the back of your mind, you're going like, that'll never happen. I mean, how many times do we do that in corporate America? They come to say, oh, we got to do this. It's like, yeah, not going to happen. And yet what we say is like, okay, I'll get on it. It's just, we lie to each other. And so a commitment culture is that so you move forward because you've committed, not because someone else committed you. And so what has to happen there? There's a certain sort of freedom, autonomy to be able to say no, to negotiate. And so I got to this point where those bigger, I was working with these bigger companies. I was working in my company. I wanted to bring it to theirs. And what I see is, and almost at every level of leadership, there's a big percentage of people that want to do this. You know what I mean? It's a resonant concept, servant leadership, it's about serving. Right. And so there's a lot of people that I encountered that wanted to do that, but the structure would defeat them. They'd try to figure out ways to adjust it. And to me, it's like you gotta blow it up from the bottom up. And that's why I became more interested in smaller companies. So it's a network of commitment among human beings. And so it starts with making space for other human beings and making an environment that is conducive to being a human being. I had so many people, managers, that would ask me, it's like, so Kevin, so we're going to do some rewards for our students. Should we give them money or should I give them a pizza day? And, so what do we need to do so that they feel valued? Mm-hmm. And my thing was always like, that's such a crazy question to me, because the thing that you need to do to make people feel valued is to value them. Mm-hmm. And so if you truly valued your people, you would know which of those worked. The fact that you're asking me about your people proves that you don't really, in a really deep internal way. And some of this is like, we're trained to not do that in a way, right? As managers, because we're pursuing the company culture, the company objectives. And I just want to make sure that I'm clear that I'm not a big fan of so I've led my business. So I have an objective and I'm going to get my objective. It's not like whatever you guys want.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm
talking environment.
No,
Yeah.
But it requires some skill on my part to be able to say, okay, this is what I want. Which people want the same thing? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to make sure I have the right people in the right seat that want that. And then I'm going to translate all of these goals into their goals, and I'm going to serve them. Because if I can get deep in my soul that I'm here to help them achieve their ambitions and do that, because I know that if they do that, then my ambition is going to be served along the way. If this person doesn't want to go in that direction, if it doesn't serve who they are, then they need to go.
Yeah.
But what that allows me to do, so it starts with, how you get there is create a space that's good for human beings where you can care and really drive them. So, all right. So, sorry, I have long answers to short questions.
Well, it's great. I want to follow up on it for somebody listening out there, and they're a leader today and they're wanting to improve their leadership. Is there a book you would recommend, or is there a place that you would direct them to say, okay, this is how you start to learn about that? I've got my own favorite authors, but I'm curious of yours, or a book that helped change your perspective.
Yeah, so it's a tough question to answer, and this is how I'm going to answer it. So Fernando Flores is the person that I studied, and I studied neurology, and I studied and read a whole bunch of stuff that most of your listeners aren't going to want to read. But if they are, Computers and Cognition, Disclosing New Worlds, these are books, and they're the kind of deep philosophical books that you'll read a paragraph, it'll blow your mind, and then you have to let it sit for a day. Read another paragraph and let it sit. The thing I loved about EOS is that Gino figured out a way to take all that wisdom and just to tell people, do these things. And he did it in a way that, the reason I stay as an EOS implementer is because of the impact it has on my clients. Because it works, you know what I mean? And so if you're the, and I don't know what the percentages are, but 1 in 10, 1 in 20 of those people that will actually buy those books, and then, 1 in 10 of them will read it. If you want the shortcut, buy the book Traction, implement EOS, just do it. Try to implement it as purely as possible. And you will be doing the things that I'm talking about. So in VTO, core focus, there's two parts to core focus. It helps us maintain our focus, work on the right things. The first part of that is purpose, cause, and passion. What's your why? Why are you doing this? And that's a deep inquiry, and it takes my clients a long time. And most people don't really have good answers to that. And the more that you dial in on that, the more that you can really, because that's a deeply human question, deeply personal human phenomenon, right? Purpose, cause, and passion. What lights you up? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What enables you to endure the kind of crap that we have to endure to succeed in business, right? Because there's, there's stuff we don't want to do. So
that's powerful. And you mentioned that, actually, I shared this with a group this morning, is, there'll be times in your life as you mature that your why and your purpose are not enough, in my opinion. Of you need a burn. I call it a competitive edge. You need that kind of chip on your shoulder, so to speak, of like you're going to do it despite what everyone else tells you. You're going to do it despite what your feelings tell you, despite what the results are and all the things. And it's just going to be an innate drive that you say, forget it, I'm doing it. And you go do the things that aren't comfortable. And many times they're very discomfortable because you're not winning yet. You still got to do the things. I love that you share that. And this has been an incredible conversation. I'll tell you what, we covered a lot of ground. I know we could keep talking there, but I want to make sure people know where can they find more? Where can they connect up with you best?
Well, so email is great. Kevin@Suboski.com. That makes it easy. And so I have two businesses, one that I'm focused on EOS. And so those people that want to implement EOS and want some help along the way. And if people have questions and they don't want to hire me, part of our core values is help first. I educate, I'll teach people, even though they may not be looking to hire me. If you want to learn more about EOS, I'm happy to help. And I have another program that's for those solopreneurs, those ambitious solopreneurs. That company is called Fastest Route. And so it's fastestraute.co. And you can reach me at kevin@suboski.com. If you're one of those solopreneurs, you're great at what you do, your customers love you, but you're missing some things in terms of like really getting the business humming, then love to help with that. Does that work?
We'll include the links as well, guys. And we'll make sure you can connect up with Kevin and follow along in the journey. If this resonated with you, if you're an entrepreneur out there and you're thinking, I want to get better. I want to become that next version of myself and build out this company I'm passionate about. You've heard the ingredients. You've heard the things that will make you successful. And even I love the part today for our leaders out there of how that has shifted and changed. Even some book recommendations. Look, there's times I've read books, Kevin, that have absolutely been breakthroughs for me. They would never have been the books I chose.
Yeah.
Someone said, Brian, you need to read that. It's going to be out of your world. And to your point, it was usually the ones I had to read a couple pages, put it down and walk away. That could be the challenge for you as you leave today. So Kevin, thanks for investing time in our audience. We appreciate you.
I'm glad to be here. I love entrepreneurs. And one of the things I tell people is thank you for your work. Entrepreneurs are the people that move the world forward. Wow. It's, the reason I do this is, it kind of chokes me up. It's the authenticity, the drive. They're doing great work for the world. Whether you're crushing it or not, you're doing great work. And I appreciate that. And so thank you. Thank all of you, for helping move the world forward. Because that's what you're doing.
Love it. Love it. We're in this fight together. And guys, it's been another episode of Finding Your Competitive Edge. So make sure you like, subscribe, all that cool stuff on Apple. You got to make sure you're following along now and download those episodes. Leave us a review. If today's episode with Kevin has sparked something or taught you something new, share it with your friends, share it with people that are entrepreneurs and leaders. Is what I found is that piece of information may be the missing link for them right now to win more and to really succeed in the business that they're passionate about and they love. So that's why we created the show, bring on great guests like Kevin, and we share their expertise and really their genius with you so you can get better. So until then, we will catch you on the next episode. See you guys.